I watched 9 years of my life burn to the ground in 127 days. A company I built from $2 million to $50 million, reduced to bankruptcy court hearings and desperate phone calls at midnight. And the person who destroyed it? My own cousin. But here's what nobody saw coming, including me. The ending to this story isn't what you think. This is about how family loyalty became my greatest weakness. How a 25-year-old with a trust fund and zero experience dismantled what took nearly a decade to build. And how revenge came in a form nobody expected. Not even me. March 2014. I was 28 years old, sitting in a cubicle at a tech company I absolutely hated when my phone rang. Uncle Robert. Now, Robert wasn't just my uncle. He was the family success story. Self-made entrepreneur. Built a logistics software company from scratch back in the early 2000s. The kind of guy who drove a Tesla before anyone knew what a Tesla was. But when he called me that day, his voice sounded different. Tired. Maybe even desperate. He needed someone he could trust. Someone hungry. Someone with vision. His company was dying, and he didn't know how to save it. He offered me 15% equity in the COO position. Chief Operating Officer. Second in command. He asked me to help him save the company, promising we'd build something incredible together. I said yes that night. I had no idea I was signing up for the best and worst decade of my life. Here's what nobody tells you about building a company. It consumes you. For 9 years, this became my entire existence. I rebuilt the entire technology stack from scratch. We were running on software from 2006. Literally held together with duct tape and prayers. I modernized everything. I personally pitched and landed every single major client. Johnson Logistics, Federated Supply Chain, Atlas Distribution, names you'd recognize if you worked in the industry. I recruited the entire leadership team, VP of Sales, CTO, Head of Product, every single person. And the results? Year 1, $2 million in revenue. Year 3, $10 million. Year 5, $25 million. Year 9, $50 million in annual revenue. We went from 8 employees working out of a strip mall office to 200 people across 3 locations. Robert handled the vision, the strategy, the board meetings. I handled everything else, but it came at a cost. I missed my sister's wedding because of a client emergency. I watched my relationship fall apart because I was never home. I developed anxiety that would wake me up at 3 a.m. thinking about quarterly projections. My friends called me obsessed. I called it dedication. Looking back now, maybe they were right. And then there was Tyler, Robert's nephew. Technically my cousin, though I barely knew him. Let me paint you a picture. 2015, Tyler's 17. Shows up to Thanksgiving driving a BMW his parents bought him. Talks about how college is probably not for him because he's too entrepreneurial. Sure, kid. 2019, Tyler's 21. He's failed out of 2 colleges. But he's got this new startup idea, always a new startup idea. Something about cryptocurrency and social media. I honestly stopped listening. Robert would always defend him, saying he just needed to find his path. That he was brilliant, just unconventional. 2022, Tyler's 24. He's burned through 6 different jobs in 3 years. Sales, marketing, consultant. You know, the kind of consultant who doesn't actually consult on anything. But Robert adored him, saw him as the son he never had. And that should have been my first warning sign. Because in late 2022, Tyler started showing up at the office. Uninvited. Just observing, he'd say, learning the business. Robert gave him a title, marketing consultant. I asked what exactly he was consulting on. Robert's answer was that he was family and just needed a chance. Famous last words. March 14th, 2023. I'll never forget the date. Robert called an emergency board meeting. Now, this wasn't unusual. We'd been in acquisition talks. A private equity firm had offered $75 million for the company. We were weeks away from closing. I walked into that conference room thinking we were going to discuss the final terms. Instead, Robert announced he was retiring, stepping down as CEO, effective in 60 days. The room went silent. Everyone looked at me. Because obviously, right? 9 years. Chief Operating Officer. I built the damn thing. And then Robert announced he was appointing Tyler as the new CEO. Tyler, 25 years old, 6 months of marketing experience, 0 leadership experience, 0 technical knowledge, 0 business development skills. I felt my stomach drop, like the floor had just disappeared beneath me. One of the board members spoke up, questioning Tyler's experience with all due respect. Robert cut her off. He insisted Tyler had fresh eyes, young energy, that he understood where the market was going, and that he was family. This company needed to stay in the family. I didn't say anything in that meeting. I couldn't. I was in shock. After everyone left, I asked Robert to stay. Just the two of us. I told him it didn't make sense. That Tyler had no experience running a company. Robert defended Tyler, calling him brilliant with a fresh perspective. He said I would mentor him. I reminded him about my 9 years. 9 years building this company with him. He told me I'd stay as COO, run operations, keep everything stable. He said this was about legacy, about keeping it in the family. That's when it hit me. I was never family. I was the employee who happened to share DNA. I should have walked away that day, handed in my resignation, started my own company. But I didn't. You want to know why? Because I actually believed I could fix this. I thought, okay, Tyler's the CEO, but I'll be running everything anyway. I'll teach him, guide him. It'll be fine. Biggest mistake of my life. Tyler's first day as CEO in training was something. He showed up in a designer suit. Tom Ford, I think. $1,000 shoes. Rolex his parents bought him for graduation from the college he dropped out of. He called an all-hands meeting. 200 employees crammed into our main office. Tyler stood there and announced they were going to disrupt everything. That the old ways were dead. That they were going to move fast and break things. Move fast and break things. That's a Zuckerberg quote from 2014. It's literally on motivational posters sold at HomeGoods. But everyone clapped. Because what else are you going to do? Over the next 60 days, I tried to train him, showed him the client relationship strategies, explained our financial models, walked him through product development cycles. He dismissed everything. Old thinking, he'd say, we need to pivot, innovate. His generation does things differently. He started bringing in his friends, college buddies, people with 0 relevant experience, gave them VP titles. He made reckless promises to clients without consulting anyone. When I told him timelines were unrealistic, he said I was resistant to change. And every single time I tried to push back, Robert would defend him, telling me to give him space, let him lead, that I was being too controlling. And then came the breaking point. June 2nd, 2023. 3 weeks after Tyler officially became CEO, he called me into his office. His office. The one that used to be mine before he redecorated it with a ping pong table and a neon sign that said hustle. He told me they were making organizational changes, restructuring for the future. He said he thought it was best if I took a step back, maybe a sabbatical. 6 months, paid obviously, but the team needed space to evolve without legacy thinking holding them back. I looked at him, this kid who I'd trained, who I'd personally mentored, and I told him he was firing me. He insisted he wasn't firing me, just asking me to take a break. I asked if Robert knew about this. Tyler smiled and said it was Robert's idea. I walked out that day with a box of my things and 9 years of my life reduced to a sabbatical. June 15th, 2023. The day I lost everything I'd built. For the first month, I tried to let it go. I went to Costa Rica, sat on a beach, tried to meditate, tried to convince myself that maybe, just maybe, I was wrong. Maybe Tyler would surprise everyone. Maybe fresh eyes were what the company needed. But I couldn't stop checking my phone. LinkedIn notifications. Former colleagues reaching out asking to talk off the record. Wondering if everything was okay at the company. Telling me they were worried. And then I started seeing the news articles. Rising tech company announces aggressive expansion into blockchain. New CEO promises to triple revenue in 18 months. Blockchain. We were a logistics software company. What the hell do we need blockchain for? And then the messages really started coming. From my former team, the people I'd hired, trained, trusted, and they all said the same thing. We're terrified. Let me walk you through what Tyler did in those 127 days. Because this isn't just a story about incompetence. It's a masterclass in how to destroy a $50 million company. Red flag number 1, the visionary strategy. Tyler decided we needed to pivot. Complete pivot. From logistics software to blockchain-enabled supply chain solutions with AI integration. No market research. No client feedback. Just hype. He burned $8 million on a product launch that literally nobody asked for. The beta version didn't even work. Red flag number 2, the culture shift. Tyler fired 30% of senior staff. People with 10, 15 years of experience. People who knew our clients personally. His reason? Too traditional. Too resistant to change. He replaced them with his college friends. 23-year-olds who'd never worked a real job. The office turned into a startup bro culture. Beer pong tournaments on Wednesdays. Mandatory team bonding retreats. Meanwhile, client emails went unanswered for days. Red flag number 3, the client exodus. Our biggest clients started calling me on my personal phone, asking what was happening, saying they couldn't get anyone to return their calls. That Tyler had promised them features that weren't being delivered, that they were considering terminating their contracts. Johnson Logistics, our biggest client, $12 million a year, they left. Revenue started dropping. $50 million, $42 million, $35 million. Red flag number 4, the financial disaster. Tyler took out a $15 million loan for expansion. Where did the money go? $5 million on office renovations. A slide in the lobby. A meditation room with $1,000 chairs. $3 million on a marketing campaign that ran on TikTok. For a B2B enterprise software company. Let that sink in. $2 million on a company retreat in Bali. For the entire company. During our busiest quarter. And the rest? Nobody really knows. It just disappeared into consulting fees and strategic partnerships that never materialized. September 2023. 3 months into my sabbatical. Unknown number. I usually don't answer, but something told me to pick up. It was David, our CFO, one of the first people I'd hired back in 2015. He needed to talk. Not on this line. Asked if I could meet him. We met at a coffee shop 40 minutes outside the city. David looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. He told me the company had 3 months of runway left. Maybe 4 if we were lucky. Tyler was hiding the real numbers from the board. They were hemorrhaging cash. Employees hadn't gotten bonuses. There were lawsuits coming from 3 different clients for breach of contract. I asked where Robert was in all this. David shook his head. Robert didn't come to the office anymore. Tyler told him everything was fine. He believed him. I sat there, listening to my life's work described in past tense. And you know what I felt? Nothing. I was completely numb. Because part of me, a dark, bitter part of me, wanted to watch it burn. But here's the thing about watching something burn. It's not just Tyler and Robert who get hurt. It's 200 employees, people with families, mortgages, kids in college. It's clients who depended on our software to run their businesses. And as much as I wanted to let it all collapse, as much as I wanted to be proven right, I couldn't do that to them. So I started making phone calls. Not to Robert, not to Tyler, to investors I knew, to former clients, to industry contacts. Because if I was going to watch the company die, I was going to have a backup plan. I was going to build something new, poach the best talent, take the clients who'd follow me. Let Robert and Tyler have the ashes. I'd have the phoenix. And I was about 3 weeks away from launching when my phone rang. 11 p.m., October 18th, 2023. Uncle Robert. I stared at his name on my screen. Part of me wanted to let it go to voicemail. But I answered. Silence. Just breathing on the other end. Then Robert told me he'd made a mistake. His voice was broken. Defeated. I never heard him sound like that. Not even when the company was failing back in 2014. A terrible mistake, he said. The worst mistake of his life. The company was going under. They had 6 weeks. Maybe 8 before bankruptcy. Everything we built, everything I built, it was gone. More silence. They needed me back. I should have felt vindicated. I should have felt that rush of being right all along. Instead, I felt rage. I asked where Tyler was. Robert said he was trying, but that he was in over his head. That he admits it now. I told him I'd think about it. I hung up, and I sat there in the dark, staring at my phone, thinking about 200 people losing their jobs. Thinking about 9 years of my life. Thinking about what I was about to do. October 25th, 2023. Conference room. The same one where Robert announced Tyler would be CEO. This time, Robert, Tyler, 3 board members, 2 lawyers, and me. The atmosphere was funeral-level somber. Robert handed me a folder. Financial statements. Company valuation dropped from $75 million to $12 million in 6 months. 78 employees laid off. 6 pending lawsuits. Criminal investigation into potential financial mismanagement. I looked at Tyler. He couldn't meet my eyes. Finally, he spoke, trying to blame the market. COVID aftershocks. Supply chain disruptions. I cut him off, told him to stop talking. He shut up. Robert leaned forward and asked me to tell them what I needed, that they'd give me anything. I told them here's what was going to happen. First, Tyler resigns. Today, no severance package, no recommendation letters, no golden parachute. He walks away with nothing. Tyler started to protest. Robert stopped him. Second, Robert steps down from the board. He can stay on as an advisor, non-voting, but he has 0 operational control. Third, I become CEO with 40% equity. Non-negotiable. They diluted my shares to bring Tyler in. I want them back, plus 25%. One of the lawyers whistled at the significant ask. I told him I wasn't finished. Fourth, full operational control. No family interference. No surprise board meetings. No cousins or nephews or anyone else getting jobs they're not qualified for. And fifth, I want a written apology. From both of them. Signed. For the record. Admitting they were wrong. Tyler's face went red. Started to question if I was serious. I asked if they wanted to save this company or not. Robert looked at Tyler, then at me. Deal. But here's what they didn't know. During my 4 months of exile, I wasn't just sitting on beaches and meditating. I was building. I've been talking to investors. Serious ones. The kind with 50 million in dry powder looking for the next big thing. I've been having quiet conversations with our best clients, asking if I started something new, would they come with me? Every single one said yes. I'd already drafted the business plan, registered the LLC, set up the infrastructure. I was 2 weeks away from launching a direct competitor that would have buried what was left of Robert's company. So when Robert called me that night, begging me to come back, I had leverage, real leverage, but I also had a choice to make. Let them fail. Let it burn. Build my empire from their ashes and prove to everyone that I was the one who made it all work in the first place. Or go back, save 200 jobs, swallow every ounce of pride and resentment and rage. I chose the harder path, not because I'm noble, but because I couldn't live with myself knowing I let 200 innocent people lose everything just to prove a point. So I went back. November 1st, 2023. My first day back as CEO. I called an all-hands meeting. Every single employee, remote team, on Zoom. And I was honest with them. I told them the company almost died, that we had 8 weeks of runway, maybe 10 if we were lucky. But here's what we were going to do. We're going back to basics. No blockchain. No AI buzzwords. No TikTok campaigns. We're going to focus on what we do best, solving real problems for real clients. It's going to be hard, brutal even, long hours, tough decisions. But if you trust me, if you're willing to fight for this, we'll not only survive, we'll come back stronger. Standing ovation. People were crying, and we got to work. Month 1, I personally called every client we'd lost, apologized, explained what happened, offered them deals they couldn't refuse. Half of them came back. Month 2, secured a $5 million bridge loan from an investor who believed in the turnaround plan. Month 3, landed the biggest client in company history. Atlas Distribution, $20 million contract. They told me they were betting on me, not the company, me. Month 4, back to profitability. By March 2024, 4 months after I came back, we'd stabilized everything Tyler destroyed in 4 months. By June 2024, we hit $60 million in annual revenue, more than ever before. April 2024, I was working late. Everyone had gone home. Robert showed up at the office. He looked old, older than I'd ever seen him, like he'd aged 10 years and 10 months. He asked if we could talk. We went to my office, sat down, long silence. He told me he needed to tell me something he should have told me a year ago. He has early-stage dementia. He was diagnosed in late 2022. Everything stopped. He explained the memory issues, the confusion, decision-making problems. He was terrified. That's why he rushed the succession. He panicked. He thought he needed a hand over the company before he couldn't anymore. And Tyler was there. Tyler kept telling him he was ready, that he could do it, that it would keep the company in the family. I asked if Tyler knew. Robert nodded. Tyler knew he wasn't thinking clearly. He took advantage of that. Of Robert. Suddenly, everything made sense. The irrational decision to choose Tyler. The blind loyalty. The refusal to listen to reason. Robert wasn't being stubborn or playing favorites. He was scared and confused, and Tyler manipulated that fear. Robert apologized, said he cost me everything. I stopped him, told him he gave me a chance when nobody else would, that he trusted me with something he built, that we'd figure this out together. As for Tyler, turns out he didn't just mismanage the company. He embezzled. $2.3 million diverted to personal accounts. Fake consulting companies. Inflated vendor invoices that went straight to him. The forensic accountants found everything. Criminal charges were filed. Wire fraud. Money laundering. As of today, he's awaiting trial. His parents disowned him. The family doesn't speak to him. Last I heard, he's working at a call center in Arizona. Justice? Maybe, but it doesn't undo the damage. It doesn't give me back those 127 days of watching my life's work crumble. Robert stepped down completely. He's in a memory care facility now. A good one. We talk every week. I visit when I can. I forgave him. Because how could I not? He gave me everything. And the disease took everything from him. The company? $85 million valuation as of last month. 250 employees. Acquisition offers are back on the table. Better ones. And me? I'm the CEO, majority stakeholder. I learned the hardest lesson about family and business. They don't mix. Not ever. No matter how much you love someone. No matter how much you trust them. So let me ask you something. Was I right to go back? Should I have let it burn and start fresh? Proved everyone wrong by building something even bigger? Or did I do the right thing by saving 200 jobs and swallowing my pride? Because here's what nobody tells you about betrayal in business. It's never just business. When it's family, when it's personal, the lines blur. You can't separate emotion from logic. Your history from your future. And that's where people like Tyler thrive. They exploit the trust, the loyalty, the hope that family means something. I learned 3 things from this nightmare. 1. Never build something you can't walk away from. If you can't survive losing it, you don't really own it. It owns you. 2. Family and business don't mix. Ever. I don't care how much you trust them. Keep them separate. Always. And 3. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't destroying them. It's just winning. Building something so undeniably successful that their failure becomes a footnote in your success story. Tyler didn't destroy me. He gave me the motivation to become something I never would have been if everything had gone smoothly. Now I want to hear from you. What would you have done? Would you have gone back? Would you have let it fail? Would you have forgiven Robert? Drop a comment right now. I'm reading every single one, and I'll respond to the best answers. I promise. Because this story isn't just about me. It's about everyone who's ever been betrayed by someone they trusted. Everyone who's ever watched someone else take credit for their work. Everyone who's ever had to choose between being right and doing right. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been betrayed, overlooked, or had to rebuild after someone tried to destroy what you built, hit that like button right now. Send this to someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe because I've got more stories about the dark side of success that nobody talks about. The empire wasn't destroyed. It was reborn. And so was I.